Hmm.
Welcome to the Q&A live stream here on Facebook with me, Rune and Milan Rouillard and Ronski, Kosky. We are here today to answer questions about the men's work we do, the retreat that is coming up, and to show ourselves a little bit to the outside world as a group with three men behind the upcoming retreat, Reclaim Your Nature, Access Your Essence, which is flying off into space or into nature here on the 11th to 14th of April on the island of Zealand in Denmark. Yeah, wow.
Hmm.
Here it's Easter, very, very intense energy times. And I hope all of you that are watching the live stream are having a wonderful Easter, and the one who's seeing the replay afterwards, I know you survived the Easter because then it's the time where you're watching this. So, Milan, welcome. Can you say a little bit about yourself and why some of this men's work is having such a big impact on you, and why you want to be part of this? Actually, I know you cannot not say no to it. You have a burning passion for engaging in these kind of rooms. Can you share
Yes,
some of your passion with us?
thank you, Rune, and hello to you too. Um, yeah, for me, working with myself is the beginning, of course. Um, I've always been interested to push a little bit my understanding of relationships, both within myself, my own relationship to myself, of course, and how that mirrors back into my relationship to other people. And well, I've been attracted for inner work. So I've been doing workshops, I've been traveling, I've been doing a lot of things that, build up or gave me more and more tools to use both on myself and in my relationship to my partners in the tantric world, but also in the dancing, scene as well. Dancing alone is great, but dancing with a partner is so much more exciting. And yeah, the work at some point, it's like there is a certain desire to share, to transmit, to also push the learning process into like, okay, I can learn by practicing myself, but I can also learn so much deeper and so much more, like when I open space, when I hold space for other men to share. And so I can learn from them and they can learn from me. And we have that exchange together, which creates such more vitality and potential. And I think that's, well, there is many reasons, but one of the very core reasons why I really to work with men is because I learn a lot. I confront myself to prejudices, some fixed ideas, stuck thought forms that I can have judgments and so on, which really shatters every time I'm in the space with other men and I can see and feel the vulnerability coming in into ourselves, and then we can see like how we can deconstruct ourselves. You stop me if I start to speak too much, but to me, it's the passion is really the opening the space where we can really discover more and more of ourselves inwardly, but also because we reflect on each other, because we can soften together, because we can see that we have much more to offer to each other together. And that's a big part in my endeavors with men and what I want to share with men, because it's juicy in some ways. It's great. There is energy there. There is transmissions. There is inspiration, and and there is celebration as well of who we are, how we are, and yeah, that's me in a few words. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. It's even though we're really good friends and we have in a men's group together, it's always inspiring to listen to the stuff that comes from inside of you when you start sharing. And for me, that is also a very important part of men's work. That is that continuous, wow, there's new stuff, new layers unfolding in here. So thank you for sharing. And just for the people who are watching, if you have questions, there's a comment field. Just fire off all your questions in the comments. We already received some questions beforehand for people who couldn't be with us online. We'll go through them after the introduction. So, Ronski, you are up. Can you give us a little bit of an introduction to yourself, or a big one?
Well, welcome to everybody out there, and thank you for the invitation, Rune. And my interest, fascination, passion, desire around men's work, around my masculinity, around my manhood, around being a father, around my sexuality, and of course the list goes on, has been with me for well over 50 years. And I've been either running men's groups, or I've been a member in a number of men's groups in different countries. I've started men's groups in different countries. And then, of course, I've been running workshops. And here we are again in a love affair with two beautiful men, and offering an experience in nature, a life experience of what it is to be a mature man. Now, the quest to find my maturity began very early on. And I would share it from just a couple of perspectives. One is from the inside. So from the inside of Ronski, as a young boy, a young man, I had very, very little connection with other men. My father was absent at work most of the time. So my primary place of contact and of learning was with the connecting with the feminine and with women. And in many ways, that was very nourishing and very nurturing, and I'm thankful for that. But a time came when something was radically missing, and I needed to go on a journey to discover more about who I was as a man. And so that has been a very strong, energetic force inside of me for a long, long time. Concurrently with that, though, there was something going on in the world as well, which was in the last part of the last century, the feminist movement was forming, and women were stepping out. They were coming out of the, as we say, the wardrobe, and saying, we're here, we're present, we need to be respected, we need to be seen, we need to be heard. And my ears went out wide, and I started to listen and wondered what was going on. So I have learned from the feminist movement that the way that the women empowered themselves, the way that they discovered more about their own unique journey and life, was by spending time with other women. And this was fundamental. It had been since the beginning of time. And so I realized, okay, this is something that needs to happen for myself and for other men. And so I want to be a part of that. I want to contribute to that. I want to be of service to that. And so maybe in closing, I would say that I have realized in my own life that many of the important things that I really need to learn, I need to learn them from other men. And the other men can be supportive of me in my own healing process, just as I can be as supportive of them in their healing process. So it's both an inside and an outside energetic experience that motivates me to be involved in offering these sorts of wonderful retreat workshops.
Wow, thank you for sharing. Oh. It's good. When I tap into myself, why this has been so important and why I keep on facilitating and inviting men into men's work, both on deep journeys like the retreat coming up, but also on groups that are facilitated or loosely facilitated, both as me as a member or as me as a facilitator, is this power from within that is like, hey, there's something here that needs to be addressed. And before, when Milan was speaking, there was one of those things that was like, oh, there it was. I figured out that I actually realized my own power in the connection with other men in men's group. I was mirrored that back. I was told that I was strong, and I know I have wide shoulders and a lot of really good at a lot of things, but it wasn't before I joined men's group that I actually realized the powerful potential that I really contain. And that was in that mirror in other men. And it didn't mean like, because the old idea is like, okay, if I'm powerful, it means that I'm above, like there's a hierarchy in here in the group, but it was actually very different. It was, we became equal, and in that equal level, the power and our supreme qualities, I call them superpowers, because I'm a boy deep inside. I love Spider-Man. So these superheroes, they have superpowers, and I feel the same with us people. We have superpowers. We are superheroes. So these, but embracing that power and potential within wasn't really happening on a core cellular level before I started working in men's group. And I see this over and over again when I create spaces, or I participate in spaces where men are working together. They all have these insights like, wow, I'm not that aggressive type, or wow, I'm actually also capable of this and this. And yeah, men are just growing, and they're growing really fast when they come into these facilitated rooms of just being together. And my soul loves to be around men who realize, or women as well on that, but in this container for men's work, when people realize how beautiful and powerful and amazing they are. Because that being that leaves this room is transforming life around them. I remember very early in my men's stuff, when I came home to my partner, it was always like, wow, she always thought I was super sexy and much more beautiful than I left, and it was only 3 hours ago. And I hear the same from men that come home to their partners after a deep dive journey. It's like, wow, there's the man I fell in love with. So a very good reason. And my soul loves this. So yeah. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you to share that.
And then there's a lot of other stuff, but we're going to go into a few questions now that we've been asked, and then we'll see how this time is going to unfold. There's a time frame for the people who are watching. We're going to go maximum until 4 o'clock. We might end before. It depends a little bit on the questions and on how things are unfolding. So just so you know, there is an ending time on this live stream with Q&A. So Ronski, you actually touched a little bit upon this in your introduction, and it goes into one of the questions we have. So I'm going to ask you first, and then we'll go to Milan. So the question is, my father was missing from my life. There was no male role models. I longed to yearn to have that masculine connection met. How else would I come to understand myself and grow into a mature man? So how can these masculine needs be met and experienced and grown? Can you touch a little bit upon it? Can you go a little bit deeper into this?
Well, men have been getting together in different ways for a long period of time. Primarily, it was in sort of like an aggression, a competitive, a warlike situations, that were not life enhancing, were not life serving, and didn't actually really care for the men or the other men around them. So that's been a pattern. In more modern times, occasionally men get together to be in teams. And in those situations, sometimes they cooperate. When they cooperate well in teams, they do well. And when they don't cooperate so well, they don't do so well. And at the same time, in general culture and society, in present times, and this has been true for a long time, the masculine has been competing for the feminine. And this will lead to some other questions, I'm sure, about safety. But the men have been looking around and wanting connection with the feminine. And so on that journey to try and find a partner, a beloved, a playmate, they go into competitive mode rather than cooperative mode. And so this is the culture of the future. And when you come to a men's group or to a men's retreat workshop, this is one of the major themes that we offer, which is men learning to work together, men learning to connect profoundly and deeply with each other, men learning to help one another, men being healers for one another, men loving one another. And so gradually developing a quality of connection, which we call brotherhood. We become actually brothers in the same family, on the same team, working together to help one another. This is a cooperative and a collaborative journey, radically different from the existing one, which tends to be competitive. And when you have competitive situations, you primarily have losers. And even when you're a winner, that's usually at the expense of someone else. And so coming to these men's groups, you begin to learn the value of listening to everyone in the circle. Everyone has something that an incredible gift or gifts to share of the other men to harvest. So I don't know if that exactly answers your question, Rune, but it speaks to it in some ways.
At least my understanding is that you went behind the question and actually opened up into some of the core values of this men's work and what this does. So do you have anything to add into this container, Milan?
Well, your question was about that the story of having an absent father, and I know that for myself as well. I have had a father that was not really present home. So, like Ronski, my primarily roles, my role models were feminine, and it was very difficult to find something to catch upon, as a boy, like which kind of man do I want to be? And you named superheroes, superheroes are like fictional, men. So as a boy, like it's unrealistic to really identify yourself to Batman, and for me it was a journey to really, and it has been probably until I started to do men's work where I actually found myself in a situation where I felt safe enough to be able to identify myself to other men and feel like, oh, wow, I have also those qualities. I can hold space. I can hold myself. I can look at myself, and I can actually give myself, quality words. And that has been a very important journey for me because of that lacking of finding role models, masculine role models in the world that I knew from childhood and teenage period and so on. And it is a confusing time to live in. I have a son myself, so we have had those conversations. He just turned 18, so he's actually really a young man now. So it really brings a lot of those considerations. And I'm not here to say that I'm claiming that I'm a good role model, but as a father, you would like to be. But it's very interesting to see, like, what do we find? What is really the masculine? What is it about? What is a man? What is a good man? And and I think there is a lot of, like you just said, Ronski, about the history of our society and how we came to this point now, and how the confrontations that are being, created by that competition in big level and very small levels, like driving your car, you can feel it already. And there's like countries like saying that, and all the economical war that we have. So I think it's a very healthy journey back to yourself, to be able to come into places where it's safe to be you, where it's safe to let down your guard. Because when we compete to one another, we are always ready to defend ourselves, to fight back. And when we learn to, okay, now I can actually lower my guard, I am safe, and those men are safe with me, and together we can actually create something different that I didn't know, that's new. It's a new space, and my voice is heard, my presence is seen and felt, and I can take the space to help myself, held by my brothers, and heal. That's what you talked about. Like, we can heal each other once again. I think that's such a potent. I have goosebumps saying it because it is potent. It's very, very potent for an individual, a man individual, to come into a place like that and really empower itself, and actually come to realize, oh, but that is the masculine. I'm getting closer and closer to understand what is the masculine for me. And this is really what we want to bring men into, isn't it? We're like empowering themselves to understand deeper and deeper what the masculine and how the masculine is speaking through us. Yeah, in a few words.
Yeah, I think this is one of the beautiful things about men's work. There's a lot of laughter. Like,
Yeah.
it's a very big part of this connection. It's about laughing and allowing ourselves time and space. I wrote down here, time to investigate the right words in what we're expressing, because, and what it came back to is a lot of memories from my earlier relationships, where there was not time to investigate what kind of words should I use in this communication we have together, because there was a reaction to the words. And what I find in these containers of men is, first of all, I'm not trying to pick up or impress any of the other ones. So it's okay for me to fail or make mistakes in the words that I use, because I can feel, oh, this wasn't right. So I can change the way that I describe my experience or what I'm feeling. And then suddenly, oh, this is the right one. And then I can bring that home to my partners. And it's easier to have deep conversations without being too triggered. Yeah. And time and space to, I'm going to say be.
Yeah.
Because we have so much stuff continuously in life where we're running around and we're performing, and something magical happens when there's space for being. Then there's something else that unfolds, and this that from experience unfolds very beautiful. It's very authentic, it's raw, it's something that was inside of us that wants to come through, that hadn't been space for before. And this is where I see all these empowerments, these powers, these growth coming from. It's from that state of being, whatever that means to each and every one of us, because it unfolds differently. But yeah.
Good words.
So Ronski, you talked a little bit about maybe it would lead into that safety thing, because safety is a big topic. And I remember feeling really unsafe around men when I was younger, like exactly because of the competitions and, if I'm sharing this, then I will be vulnerable and stuff like this. So safety is a big issue, and it is a big part of men's work. Is the how can we as facilitators create a space of safety, and what does safety mean to us? So Milan, you're already on the big screen.
Ah. Okay, so I'll give it a little shot. Safety. Well, I do. I'll take it from that. You know, the the inner judge. Like looking at yourself and being like, oh, I'm not as good as he is, or I don't have what he has, or blah 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 blah. Who am I? And I think in those, I think I experience and I promote the the safety of being who you are, which means that what you own doesn't matter. How do you look like? It doesn't really matter. It's what you bring. It's how you're present and how much you dare to be present into that space. And um, the safety arises naturally, in my experience, when there is a certain piece organized or a certain piece taking care of that. The mind doesn't matter. It's not about being clever or sounding clever. It's about being here together and recognizing that you are enough into that beingness that you were talking about. Beingness, a bit of a weird word, but it's a very good one. And giving yourself the right to be exactly like everyone else in that presence. And in the work, there is also an accent. In my perspective, is a lot of accent in silence, for example, like coming to a place of silence, of stillness, or quietness inside of yourself, like everyone can come into. In that place, there is an equality. You were talking as well about equality, and that creates a very deep safety to be together without adding anything, without taking anything, but just like this is what we are together. And I think the nature of the mind is a very tricky one, because the mind is always like a monkey moving and climbing branches and going things. And when we have set a space where the mind rests, there is no reason for it to grab things. Oh, he's like that, or I'm like that, or whatever. But we are together, and we bring the accent and the presence together. Then it brings that spacefulness where we can be together. We can feel ourselves being for who we are as much as we feel the others. And then there is no differences in quietness and stillness. We are all quiet, and we can feel each other's presence into that beingness. That creates a very powerful ground to express. Then from that quietness, something can arise. And it is going to be safe to arise, because it's together we hold it. We are all together into this, and we accept what's coming. So that's kind of conceptual, but it's a beautiful experience to have together with other men, really, to feel that you can come into your center, into your quietness, and share that with other men, and feel that there you can be, and you are accepted how you are.
Very beautifully expressed, Milan. And when we sit quietly in circle and we listen to ourselves, as well as when we listen to others, and we do that in a mindful way, and in a still way, and in a present way, and in a grounded way, then there is more safety. And safety is so important, not only between men, but between men and women and men, and women and women. And this is a big topic.
Mm-hmm.
But I can share with you, in the men's work that we're doing, some of the key ingredients that create safety. one of the key ingredients to create safety in a men's workshop is when every man, including the facilitators, take personal responsibility. They take personal responsibility for what they feel, what they think, what they say, what they do. And they realize that whatever is going on inside of oneself is only up to you. You're the one that makes the difference. And you're the one that can contribute to making life more beautiful for yourself and for those around you. So personal responsibility is very, very significant. Also taking ownership, which is when you come, shall we say, to a men's workshop, you take responsibility for the fact that you're there. You take responsibility for the land and the ground around you. You take good care of everything, including yourself. That's ownership. There's much more in this, and I'm just touching on things very, very briefly here. But if you come to a men's workshop, if you want to get something out of it, then you've got to participate. And you've got to contribute in some way. You've got to have a desire to want to heal the things inside of yourself and look at those things really closely. But they would say, what builds safety between people generally, as well as between men, is when men express their feelings and they express it from an I statement place. So they're owning their feelings, they're taking full responsibility for their feelings, and they're actually expressing their feelings. So they birth what's inside of them outside. And it's not directed at any other person. It's just an opportunity for them to share and for them to see more clearly who they are, what's going on. A couple of other words that just come to mind, and then I'll pass it back to you, would be the words surrender. It's so important to be able to surrender. Surrender to receiving. Surrendering to not knowing. Surrendering to your heart song. So surrendering creates incredible safety for other people that are around you and for the other men. And then perhaps one of the sweetest parts is vulnerability. When you are vulnerable, when you start to share the challenging parts of yourself, when you share the parts that you're maybe not so proud of, the parts of you that are dysfunctional, then you come into an earthy place, a place where you can compost who you are. And you not only can compost who you are, is when men are doing that together, being vulnerable, surrendering, sharing their feelings, then we start to create a qualitative earth inside of ourselves. And it's from this place that we get to know our masculinity and our manhood and begin to cultivate the maturing of those aspects of ourselves. So I think that's I hand it back to you.
So it's very interesting, and it's opening up for some conversations that I've touched upon with a lot of men that I'm talking about men's work, and it's actually a very feminine way to find your own masculinity. We need to go through that feeling state. We need to go into the heart space. So all this that we think of feminine qualities, it's actually one of the fastest way to find your own mature masculinity. Is that correct, what I'm hearing, Ronski?
You said it.
Yeah.
It's if I can say a couple more words, okay.
Please.
The the feminine lives inside every man as much as it does inside every woman. And embracing the feminine inside the man, which comes through vulnerability, through surrendering, through becoming more sensitive, more emotional, more in one's felt sense body. This opens up doorways. This opens up portals inside of oneself to actually develop into living a more fuller life, one that is celebratory, much more enjoyable. It's not that it doesn't have occasional difficulties, it always does, but we're more capable and more able to deal with it because the feminine that Rune you just talked about, okay, we have started to realize, okay, that the feminine inside of ourselves is very wise. And the feminine outside of ourselves is very wise too. And the wise man listens to what the women have to say. And they have a lot to say and a lot to share. And it's very beautiful and it's very nourishing. And so taking that into the core, into our essence, then we reconnect back into nature and become one again. And so when the men come and take a workshop with us, as some of you will do, in nature, we then integrate our masculine, our feminine, and other aspects of our being.
Thank you. Milan, you have something to add into this?
Oh, I completely agree and second the interconnectivity between the masculine and feminine. One of the secret eventually is that we cannot see or feel one without the other. So we have to recognize what is what and honor it in ourselves, in others, in nature. I mean, now it's spring and wow, I mean, here is the feminine, she's coming back. Hear all the birds, calling for a partner, and there is so much liveliness in the air. And is it masculine? Is it feminine? Or is it the dance of the two? Of course, it is the dance of the two. So how can we integrate those things? How that can also be inside of ourselves? We cannot be limited to only one thing. I'm not a man just because I have something hanging between my legs. I am much more than that. And that's also the opportunity to experience something deeper or something fuller in the men's group, or in the retreat, to come in that union inside of ourselves, to really find out that I am much more than what I thought I was, and I am empowered by that wisdom. I am empowered by that energy. I am empowered by the fullness of being, because that's also it. Like, I am enjoying that creativity, and I'm enjoying that space that I can have inside of myself. It's a massive, beautiful subject. There is so many things to speak about masculine and feminine, and how much you feel your masculine when you go into your feminine, which is a key, like, to really unlock some amazing experiences for the self and for the group. So come into our men's group and check it out. I'm gonna spill all the beans now. But yes, I love this. This is really such a beautiful and deep adventure. I think I use the word of adventure. We're recognizing how those polarities are working inside of ourselves and outside of ourselves is an amazing journey into existence.
Wow, thank you. I'm sitting here with a question. Isn't it just a waste of time and some silly games you're playing when you meet? And I have to ask it because we're very serious in the stuff we're doing right now. The very deep contemplative thoughts and experiences that we're sharing right now. And waste of time, never. Spending time with other people is never waste of time, and especially when it's done from a place of awareness and wish of transforming stuff that is not working.
Yeah.
A lot of men, me including, first enter men's work and going into taking responsibility of their own personal development. We developed our career, our professional life, but taking the personal development step is often first done when there's a divorce or a death or some very serious crash in life. And there's absolutely no reason to wait, because a lot of these disasters can be avoided when we start looking at ourselves and start taking those important steps and actually going into groups where we are playing and having fun while we're experiencing this, because it actually spreads out into the rest of life instead of it being enclosed. This is not a, oh, I'm going to therapy and oh, it's on every Thursday. No. This is something that is adding spices and juiciness into everyday life and into relationships, into work, into all those things that where there's often quite a little bit of stuck energy. There's something that is not working. A lot of men feel, at least I did a lot in the beginning of being a dad. I still do that. Am I enough? Am I a good dad? Of course, I could be better. But being in these kind of groups and mirroring and actually men helping to tell me, hey, you're doing all these things, it becomes visible to see all the good stuff that we're adding into things, and then it's easier to amplify them in our daily life. So for me, these containers are also a place of microscopic work. I'm scientist of education, so looking in the microscope, oh, there's something here, and then taking it out and amplifying it in these containers. And I love to have fun while doing serious stuff. So a lot of playing, a lot of fun, a lot of serious stuff is going on in these groups. It's like the masculine feminine dynamics. It's all there. We need all of it. We need the vulnerability, we need the stability, we need the women, we need the men. There's a longing and a need in our organisms to have all of it. Why settle for one thing? Life is so full, and it's the completeness that nurtures us on all levels.
Yeah. Can I say something here?
Yeah.
There is something important as well, is that aspect of authenticity. When we meet and when we are in the circle together, we are in some ways put into a spot where we have to talk our truth, where we have to be true to ourselves, because all the other men, they're going to feel if we are just full of shit. And so it forces us to actually really face that part of ourselves. What am I playing? Am I playing out a role? Am I acting out something that I think about myself? And because the space is safe, we're not going to be judged. We're not going to be shamed. We're not going to be like put down. On the contrary, we're going to be like encouraged to come forth with truly who we are and be seen into what you were calling our superpowers earlier. And so there is something happening in that competitive mindset that we are in, that suddenly we don't have to act out to be competitive, but we have to be authentic, to be seen for who we are. And I think that's that's not playing. How fact it's not playing. It is playing, but it's not a waste of time. That was my it's not at all a waste of time, because we can always use that in our life when we are alone, when we're at work, when we are with our parents, we in our life in general. And I think that's a very beautiful experience for the self, to be held in its own authentic expression. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm feeling a warmth from you two men. And I also feel like the universe out there, for those that are looking in, I'm feeling the warmth from people out there. Those that are joining us today, I can really feel that. And that's a wonderful feeling to tap into the fact that people really do have loving, sharing, warm type feelings and share that with one another. Just thinking here a little bit about playfulness. I love playfulness. And I have been a serious dude, a serious man, maybe a little bit too much in this lifetime. And playfulness now is becoming something that I enjoy and participate in more and more. I have an expression for it, and I call it maturated innocence. And that I can allow my little boy to come forth, to be seen, to play, to be silly. But I can also sometimes do it in a more mature way. So I call that maturated innocence. And when we're at a men's workshop, there's certainly time for us to laugh, to celebrate, to play, to be silly, and moments to do nothing. But overall, there is an intention there. And that intention does lead to, hopefully, a commitment. So men who come to these workshops, they deepen their commitment to themselves, and they deepen their commitment to how they're going to be and what they're going to do out there in the world. And I wanted to also just say a couple more words about judgment, because that does come up, because men often feel uncomfortable, feeling like maybe that they're being judged. And I wanted to differentiate between accountability and judgment. And when you're in a circle of men who are showing empathy for one another, consideration, respect, caring, then when a man has expressed something, he's not triggered when another man holds him accountable. That's one of the beautiful aspects of masculinity, that men can do that with one another and be able to handle it and not be triggered. And so this is one of the gifts that you surely will receive when you come and join us.
It's a very, for me, very interesting part, this with the accountability, because we can take a lot of, oh, I'm going to do this in life. But when we are sharing this with our brothers, my experience is that it becomes so much easier to stay with it. And actually, when we enter into a space where we can also share the difficulties we have with staying with our commitments, whatever those commitments are, if they're big, life-changing, or if like just a small twists to everyday life, then having witnesses and having people who understand where it is we're coming from, because we've been authentic in this investigation into what we're committing ourselves to, then the foundation is so much stronger, and there's a motivation in this. Oh, I did this together with these brothers that I really care about, and I can see and I want to do this. And sometimes it's difficulty, and then like the men I'm sharing with on a regular basis, they're like, how are you doing with your commitment? And I'm like, fuck, I forgot a few days. And instead of making myself small, it's like I'm encouraged to get back up on the horse and keep on doing the commitment, and maybe small tiny adjustments, but this encouragement and support that we as men can give each other is so valuable that I don't think I know any men who have started men's work who are not continuing the work in one way or another, because they saw what this can do to their lives. Maybe it's longer between meetings, but there's always this constant connection to it, because this is there to stay.
Yeah.
So we're ending or nearing an ending time. Is there anything that any of you two want to add here the last few minutes?
Well, there is a lot we could say. We have a few minutes. Yeah, I think there is a big in what you just said. For example, to just had a like it is very clear that when you commit yourself and you have both committed yourself to investigate, to explore, to go into that adventure, and everything that you find on your path of adventure is something you use. You know, is something that you can put in your backpack, and then at some point along the line it's going to be useful. It's like, oh, I have that, I have learned that, I didn't know when I could use it, but now it's the time. And those experiences of coming into men's work are one of those things that we can put in our backpack, and that can be very useful in time of crisis. You were talking of crisis earlier, and also in the relationship that we have with the feminine in our partnership, for example, at home. And sometimes we have those moments where we are in the edge of freaking out, and yeah, there is something that can come up there that we have been, learning from the circle of being seen, for example, by other men in our authentic self. And it's like, okay, I can actually rest in that, and then I can breathe into it and come back into the relationship to the feminine with a bit more space, that I can actually hold this together, and I can actually have space for her with all the things that she comes with. So the everyone is different, and we all learn in different things in different moments, but the value of those teachings or those spaces that are being experienced are very valuable and are life transforming. Not like, okay, your life is changing from one day to another, or maybe it can, but it's a transforming that on the long run really takes you somewhere. We were talking about maturity, and the leaves of the trees, they don't come out in one day. It takes a few weeks to come out, and it's a slow process. It's a beautiful process, and that's maturity, and that's also what we offer, like the kind of direction to be able to find more maturity in our development. And the beauty of sharing that together. I don't know shit in some ways, and I am learning as much as we all gonna learn there. And that's what I found so exciting and beautiful into the work we do, and sharing and learning new men and sharing together. This is my last few words. Yes, and I'm excited to be there with everyone. It's going to be such a beautiful experience. I can't wait.
So Ronski, I have a question for you. What can men expect from you on the upcoming retreat?
Well, I'll certainly show up with all of me. There will be an excited man that's there, and there'll be a man that listens and wants to learn from you as much as there'll be maybe some things that I can contribute. But I would say overall that in life, we do need to put energy in if we wish to develop, if we wish to grow, if we wish to evolve, if we wish to change, then we need to do something about that. And coming to a men's workshop is an opportunity for you in the first instance to explore some self-development, some self-understanding that will lead to some self-realization. But there will be other bonuses that come from this as well. And that would be most probably in your career, your right livelihood, the work that you do. You might look at that in a more profound and deeper way and give that consideration. Are you on your path? Are you doing what you're meant to do? And then another benefit that would come from coming to a men's workshop would be that when you go home and there's something that is different. And people notice that. Just like Rune was saying when he comes back from the men's group meeting, his partner can feel him and see him in some different ways. Men who come to men's workshops, their relationships improve, their relationships with their partner, their relationships with their children, with their friends, with their family of relations, mother, father, etc. And they'll find also that there'll be an improvement because of the deeper understanding of themselves in their relationships, in their work life too. So many benefits that will blossom out of taking time for yourself. And I look forward to seeing you. I welcome you. And it will be a very special time being with you. And I'm going to feel very thankful from your presence.
Wow, I'm looking forward to spending time with you on this retreat and all the other men that already signed up. So, Milan, what can the participants expect from you on the retreat?
Nothing. Well, yeah. What livelihood and oh yeah, my I feel so much gratitude after your words, Ronski. It's so touching. Thank you. Yeah, I feel very open into taking everyone in, really, and opening that heart space that feels safe for everyone, and really breathe into that moment together. You know, that beingness of being simply us together. I feel very, my body feels a big yes of that moment when we're going to be there together. And create those wonderful moments that are going to be transformative for all of us, and play together and cry together and laugh together. And yes, that's really what I feel right now in this container. That's where I am, and it's bubbly inside of my heart, and in the same time it's very quiet and centered, grounded would be the word. So it's a beautiful place to be right now, and I know it's going to be amazing. Thank you.
Wow, very beautifully expressed, Milan.
What am I going to bring into this container?
Yeah.
Yes, bring it on.
Like the two other men, one of the most important things I'm bringing into it, that is me full on. And this is also what I'm inviting men to bring into this. Bring yourself full on, whatever that means. It doesn't matter if you're happy or sad or successful or whatever in your own opinion. Just bring yourself as full on as possible, because I am doing that, and I can hear the two other men, they're doing that, and this is a very important part of the work. I'm gonna bring a lot of joy. I'm gonna bring a lot of confrontation and mirroring, and I'm definitely gonna judge all of you. But that is stuff that I'm working on. But I'm taking responsibility for it, and then it becomes a healing potential. And I'm very open about it. So you don't have to walk around and think, "Oh, is Rune judging me?" Yes, I am probably judging you, but I am doing it from a place of love. So this is very different, and it doesn't mean anything except that it's patterns inside my mind that I am working on, that are being transformed, and I am looking. All the judging is always on myself in this. So when I'm judging other people, I'm judging myself and seeing places where I can grow. So it's a mirroring, and it's very safe to be around. This, at least, is what I'm hearing for all the men that I'm working with, all the women. It is safe to be around you because you're honest about what it is you're experiencing inside of you. So this is among many other things that I'm bringing. And I had a conversation the other day with a man, and he asked me, "Can you be more concrete on what is happening in the men's retreat?" And I started laughing because, of course, we have a plan. Of course, we have stuff that is scheduled and we're going to go through. But a lot of the work is what happens in the now. And the three of us, we are super experienced in taking the stuff that is alive in the present moment and supporting that and being unfold, so all the people who are part of that room will benefit from it. That is one of our superpowers. Oh, I love goosebumps on my arms and legs. So, and we're going to spend time in nature. And we had a conversation. This is the upgrade from my earlier retreats, that there is a chef who is making the most beautiful food, organic stuff, and he's nurturing us. It's a man. We especially told him to leave his woman at home because this is a men's retreat. So expect beautiful food to nurture your soul and the journey you are on. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
And there will be a lot more. It will be like Christmas. So unless any of you two guys have anything, or then we're gonna close off this Q&A. We passed 1 hour 7 minutes ago, but it's just 7 minutes.
It's good.
Cool.
Thank
So
you. Yes,
for you
thank
men who's interested, I put the link to the retreat in the comments fields. Otherwise, reach out. You can always write to any of us over Messenger, or look into the Facebook profiles. It's probably our phone numbers or web pages. We are easy to find. We are not trying to hide. We are actually doing the opposite. We want all the ones who are interested to find us as easy as possible.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to seeing you, maybe on this retreat, maybe on the next, but we're definitely looking forward to meeting you. Thank you so much for honoring yourself, and by watching this Q&A, maybe just a few minutes or all of it. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Yeah, thank you and happy Easter.